I think the problem of governance has emerged in several times this morning, especially with reference to the experiences which were presented. And the idea a little bit of the commons and of these experiences, how do we manage the fact that we want to have inclusive and participatory mechanisms, and how do we implement this? And this is, of course, something which relates also to the law somehow, because, of course, to build up participatory and inclusive mechanism, we need to rely on legal institutions. But the problem which, as GECO teams, we are focusing with reference to the governance in how do we design those mechanisms. Of course, one of the first point of the commons is that they are very context specific. So we cannot provide a general model of governance good for all the commons experiences. But still, what we want to do is to help each experience of commoning to, go through processes helping them to have good model of governance, good designs, governance designs. Because governance brings about different issues and different instances, which can often, also bring conflicts one another. For example, I give an example, the idea of having a governance which is very sophisticated with reference to the fact that it makes participation very big, or that it is very good at shaping with reference to the experience, enacting several working groups, making very sophisticated mechanism with reference to the way these working groups should, have a dialogue one another, having complex procedure in order to weight different stakeholders and stuff. So, for example, sophistication on the one hand may be detrimental over inclusion, because, of course, as more sophisticated the mechanism is, as more you would maybe exclude people on the basis of education or language, for example. So this is just one issue that you can that example of issues, or the kind of issues you can have when talking about governance. Another issue could have been, for example, the idea that mechanisms of governance need to welcome everyone, because, of course, the principles of the commons is that to the organization, everyone should participate. But on the other hand, the idea that, of course, you cannot have on board people who do not respect certain values. And we were talking about it just before, with reference to the values of no racism or these kind of things. Or again, the dialogue you can set forth between the commoners and public administrations. How do you design that? What kind of voice does the public administration need to have within this model? So which kind of questions do we as a community need to ask during our process of urban commonings? How do we solve it? Which kind of instances? So what we are doing, precisely because there is no one specific answer, is trying to build up several tools which would help communities when they have to go through their constitutive moments, to ask the correct questions and to find the correct answers with reference to how to design their governance, trying to balance all the different instances which could be there and which are always often conflict with one another, and which conflict needs to be solved there in a democratic way from the bottom up in relation to each experience. So we have basically different tools. One, for example, it's a role game which the community can play, with a glossary of the different legal institutions they can use, or the clause they can apply with governance, reference to governance, and these kind of things. So we are actually providing tools facilitating the process of communities in order to find their governance models, and also to show and to allow communities during their path of governance design to understand all these different instances and contradictions and legal hurdles that can emerge when we're talking about governance. So also for this, I can't really go any longer, and I will invite you to check out our website, which will be out at the beginning of December, and where all our governance toolkit will be, and our governance toolkit will be there, and we will really hope that it's going to be helpful for you.
I would have a question, very practical question. If with the toolkit you are now promoting, and we are very curious to see, are you directly addressing initiatives, or are you mostly addressing the, let's say, administrative authorities? And I say it now, in a very intentional way, authorities, or call them political representatives or administrative representatives, how they could be addressed, but somehow facilitating their work. For me, it's a bit, and it could, if things are running smoothly, if the idea is great, everybody wants to have it realized under legal conditions, I can fully see the productivity. But if the interests are colliding, so because you were mentioning bottom up, and I'm not saying that top down is by itself already something negative. Yeah, if the administration is careful, maybe it makes a lot of sense to act. They have to act top down in many fields. But on which side would you be? If in cases of conflict or in cases of need. So where do you come in? How do you how would you remain accessible with all the gained knowledge? So because this is a question we are dealing with a lot. So working here in this sort of exclusive situation, but how do we share it? How do we get out of our bubble?
Okay, this is a huge and very good question, which I think we could just sit and talk for a whole afternoon. So I just try to keep it. Yeah, I try to keep it super short. So okay, I put it into different parts, like a theoretical part and how do we deal with as the project. So okay, no, I put it from the second side. So as a project, we want to impact on both public administrations and communities. This is what we do. This has always been our goal. And if you see how the project is structured, we provide tools in all our toolkits, and also in all our the other things that we've done beyond the toolkit. We've always dealt with both, empowering public administrations and give them the tools and the knowledge in order to change their mind and trying to gain and get this idea of generative commons. This is why, for example, we have a database and a map in which we've been mapping all the initiatives, not all of them, but many initiatives of public administration setting forth urban commons, but also communities. And so this is why in our map, for example, also community represented in our survey too. And this is the way the toolkit works. We are addressing both public administrations and communities. If you think, for example, to the temporary uses toolkit now, it is clearly a toolkit which can be addressed to public administrations who want to implement the process, as well as to communities. And this is also the case with the legal toolkit and somehow with the governance toolkit. But let's come to the issue. I think that we need to divide really some kind of more of a technical discourse to a political one. I don't believe in the dichotomy, of course, on the theoretical perspective, but we do need to divide this thing, because I think that in the end, the conflict needs to be solved politically. If there is a place which the administration wants to privatize, and this is a very bad administration, and they want to privatize it because they don't really care about nothing but making a supermarket or a mall there, and there's no other way as to occupy it, I don't really see how our toolkit can be any useful. You occupy it, like I don't know, like it's like we need to gain momentum and go there and do things politically. But what we can really help with is, like, after you have, gained the political consensus around, or somehow in the political arena, to oppose a different way to project the space, then we come in. Either because at the beginning there was already a good agreement between the public administration and the community, or if it is not the case, because somehow the community has gained some kind of public visibility in which the community can enter the public discourse and the public design over this good. And in such a case, the community has the hurdle to oppose a good project. And a good project, to be credible and to also have a political credibility, needs to have a legal consistency, an economic consistency, a consistency in terms of governance, ensuring that everybody can take part of it. And so I think that more than being a solution to the conflict, our tools can really be a way to promote the solution to these conflicts, to empower the communities who are into these conflicts to show something which is consistent and sound. And on the other hand, when it comes to public administrations, to promote a culture in the public administrations and tools in the public administrations, somehow, diminishing those cases in which public administrations want to make a mall, and empowering public administrations when from the top down, they want to promote and foster mechanisms of urban governance which go in the direction of the commons. This would be a bit of the idea. I hope I was clear.